Hi everyone, this is Heather Lottinen from the Flourish.Academy. This is our weekly Q&A, and I love it. There are some great questions this week, and remember, I decided last week that I will choose a favorite question, and whoever posted that question will get a free mentoring session, and I think that's just fun, because why not? I love these questions, and I think it keeps things interesting. Okay, first from Ashley. She says, when was the turning point in your engineering career that made you leave for photography? So, a little bit of background. I am a mechanical engineer by trade, and prior to starting my career in photography, I was working for a company that did engineering consulting, and I worked mostly on bridges and highways, which sounds fun, but is not really terribly exciting. Anyway, I had Ella, and I would like to say that I would want to be a stay-at-home mom, but I am not cut from that cloth, and my goal is not to stay at home with my children. I have a lot of respect for those of you that can do that. I don't have that ability. So I'm working at my engineering job. Ella is born. She's in daycare full-time. I'm working full-time. That's life, I guess. That's the way it goes. I liked my job, I did well in it, and I was not pursuing a career in photography. I would have never considered myself an entrepreneur. I always like to say I'm an accidental wedding photographer, but I'm certainly an accidental entrepreneur. So what was happening were things were changing for the company that I was working for, and they were starting to lay people off, and I was kind of sitting in the background. I was dabbling in photography a little bit on the side, not really, just taking photos of Ella and my friends' babies, maybe a few weddings, you know, like I've spoken about before. But anyway, they're starting to do these rounds of layoffs, and I'm kind of in the background like this. I'm kind of like, pick me? No, don't pick me. Yeah, no, pick me. You know, like, I kind of wanted them to lay me off, but at the same time I didn't, because it was really scary. We depended on my income, and they picked me. So this was a Tuesday. I was laid off from my job on a Tuesday. By Tuesday evening, I had decided that I was going to pursue a career in photography. I mean, it was literally that fast. I was definitely shook up after leaving that job, or while leaving that job. I clearly remember calling my husband on that Tuesday, like, I don't have a job anymore, and I'm not sure what we're gonna do, but I think I'm gonna pursue photography. By that evening, I had resolved myself that that was what it was gonna be, and Wednesday morning, the engineering company called me back and offered me a job in a different group, which I declined, because in my mind, it was already done. I had already resolved it and figured it out. Well, they said to me, they offered back and forth. There was a particular client I was working with that really wanted me on this one job, and they said, what can we do to get you to come back to work for us? And I said, there's no way I want to come back to work for you. I mean, the only way I would even consider it is if I could do maybe part-time, like say 24 hours, 3 days a week from home. But I know that you guys don't support that type of working relationship, so it's fine. I'm going to move on. And they said, done, we'll do it. So I worked for the next, I think it was like 9 months, maybe to a year, part-time from home, still on that job while building my photography business. So, you know, there wasn't a particular point where I ever felt ready, and I was not pursuing it. I mean, photography and business just sort of found me. The key here is that I listened to my gut and my intuition, which told me just to keep moving forward and to pursue something else. So I wouldn't say that there was a turning point. Obviously, they were laying people off, and I went for it. A lot of people need that sort of challenging situation in order to get them to do something different, because it kind of reminds me of when you start thinking about having children. If everyone waited until they were completely ready to have children, there would be no little humans on this planet, because nobody would do it. So you'll never be completely ready to leave your job. Now, several things happened as a result of leaving my job that I did not anticipate. Keeping in mind, I was not an entrepreneur. I was new to all this. I had no clue what I was doing, but I had said to my husband, you know, we're going to be poor. I'm not going to make the money that I was making in engineering, and we're just going to have to be okay with that. But I think I'm personally going to be happier. And I still had Ella in daycare part-time at this point because, again, I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I did not want to be with her 24/7. I would lose my mind. Just not for me. So I was building the business and I thought, I'll never match that engineering salary, but that's okay. Well, something remarkable happened. In that first year, I blew that salary out of the water. And I think that's because I didn't anticipate having the time to put into my business. I didn't realize that working a job was so distracting. Of course it was, but I didn't put it all together because I wasn't that smart. But then once I looked back and saw that, okay, now I have time to focus on my business and get back to people and take action in my business, it just grew exponentially. I just did not anticipate that. It was a very, very happy surprise. So the turning point was, Ella's born, they're laying people off, I'm starting to dabble in photography, and then boom, there's a business. Ah, isn't that crazy? Just sort of found me, Ashley. I did not go looking for it. I hope that you found that helpful. Okay, next is from Jordan. She says, can you switch website themes without losing SEO? The answer is yes, you can. Not sure if you can transfer already written blog posts, ? Yes, you can. I'm looking to have my website redone shortly and was wondering about this. Thank you. Yeah, Jordan, thank you, Ashley. I see you. Very helpful. Thank you. Thanks for the comment. That way I know I can see comments today. So Jordan, yes, you can change themes. I change themes on my website all the time. And if every time we change themes, we had to worry about our content, we would be in trouble. So look at it as two separate things. You have your posts, your pages, your images. That's all content. It's data. It sits in a database. And then you have this theme that lies on top of it. And they're two totally separate things. So you can change your theme, your colors, your logo, anything at any time. And in fact, I'm thinking about doing that with Weddings by Heather. Okay, I've been thinking about it for 6 months. It just hasn't happened yet. What I recommend, highly, highly recommend doing first, I cannot stress this enough, is that you make a complete backup of your website prior to changing your theme or updating something major. So you can do that through a variety of plugins. Two that I know of personally are Updraft Plus and Backup Buddy. They both have free and paid for versions. You'll need to check those out, but you want to back up. Now, let's be clear, you need to back up two things. Some of these plugins only back up the database, but not the content that's in it, meaning it backs up the structure, but not the data. This is pretty important because if your website crashes and you go to restore it from that backup and you only have the skeleton framework, you've lost all your content. So you need a plugin that backs up full. It's called a full database backup. It backs up your photos, your content, your pages, your posts, as well as your theme, plugin, structure, everything, full database backup. So look into those two plugins, run a complete full backup first. Make sure you understand it, have it on the ready, and then you can update your theme. Sometimes I've updated my theme and within a couple of hours, I've had a brand new website, no problem. Other times, it's taken me weeks and I've gone through several headaches in order to get it back up and running. It just depends on what you're working on. But the answer to your question is yes, you can update it anytime and you won't lose SEO. No, not at all. Alyssa's asking the plugins again. One is Backup Buddy and the other is Updraft Plus. Two different plugins. You can look into them, free and paid for versions. I've used both of them in the past. I've never had a catastrophic website failure. I have certainly had some major issues, but both of those work really well. So check those out. Samantha says, you are always so kind and have a way of making everyone feel special. Thank you for that, Samantha. That was very kind of you to say. I feel this is an amazing characteristic. Is this something that comes naturally to you? Or do you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone at times? Thank you. This was obviously a very popular question because it got the most likes out of all of the questions, Samantha. And I would say, I thought about this a little bit, and it turns out that I am an outgoing introvert. So actually I'm classified, through all of the different tests that you can take, personality tests, I'm classified as an introvert. I'm just really, really outgoing. And an introvert by definition is someone who, when they need to recharge themselves, wants to be alone. It turns out I'm a bit of a loner and I enjoy my independence. So if I have, say, a seminar or speaking engagement or I'm teaching all day, when I come home, I crash and I just want to be alone in silence. So I'm an introvert, which means technically I would be pushing myself out of my comfort zone, but it doesn't feel difficult to me. So if it feels difficult to you, it's just a matter of practice in doing it. But encouraging is about finding the good in people. I mean, the number one rule is to leave things better than you found them, especially people. The minute I see someone, the first thing I want to do is compliment them on something. I want them to feel good. I want people to associate feeling good with being around me. So I'm always going to encourage them when I see them, when I first see them, as we're talking, and then when I leave them. I always want to say something positive. For instance, Samantha, you are beautiful and you do your makeup so perfect. Your makeup is so perfect. So when I see you, because you're so pretty, it's easy to say, oh, your makeup is amazing. You look so pretty. I love the way you did your hair. You're very stylish. You're very put together. That's easy. Okay, not everybody is as beautiful as you, Samantha. That's just the way it is. So I make it a point to find something about someone to compliment. I do this on purpose, and I do it everywhere, all day long. Always have. Drives my kids crazy, especially Ella, because every time I am grocery shopping or in Walmart, for say, I will seek someone out in order to compliment them. And the more challenging it seems, the more I enjoy it. I will find something. I will walk up to someone in Walmart and say, you know, that color you're wearing looks really good on you. It's perfect for your skin. I walked up to a woman. Did I tell you this story? If I did, forgive me. I walked up to a woman in Walmart. This is about a week ago. She comes sauntering in Walmart. All right, she is like 5'11" of gorgeous, right? She walks over to the vegetable section. She's got on these big wedges. She is dressed to the nines. I walk over to her and I said, excuse me, Mama, you are gorgeous. I didn't know supermodels came into Walmart. Are you a supermodel? And she said, actually, I did used to do some modeling, but she said, honey, I'm too old for that. She was this black woman with this draw. She said, honey, I'm too old for that. I'm 50, I think she said 52 years old. I about fell out of my cart. I said, 52? You look like you're maybe 24. I mean, she was gorgeous. I saw men oogling her. Such a beautiful woman. And she was so thankful. She kept saying, thank you so much. And you made my day. And she was telling me about her 5 grandkids. Grandkids? This woman was beautiful. She looked way, 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 way younger than me. And she was in her 50s. So I will do that everywhere I go. I will encourage people. Life is hard, right? People are going through a lot of difficult things. So why not brighten their day? Just tell them they look nice. Tell them you appreciate what they did for you. Hold the door for people. Go out of your way to look for the best. It's easy to see the negative or, complain, but it's much harder to find the positive. So I just look around to do that. Is it hard? No, it's not hard, but it might be difficult to say it. So I will often say to my mom, my parents live with us, I'll say to my mom, don't you like my shoes today? Or do you think this top is cute? And she will always say to me, of course, yeah, I love it. I was thinking it in my head. I said, okay, if you were thinking it in your head, why didn't you say something? So I encourage her all the time, if it pops into your brain, tell your mouth and speak it out loud. Someone could really use that encouragement. So lately she has started doing that, and she told me a story, this was just a couple days ago. My mom works out 3 days a week at a local gym, and she said she went up to a woman at the gym and told her she looked nice, and the woman was so moved by that, and it made the woman feel good, and it made my mom feel good. So it's not hard, you have to be cognizant. You have to think of it and just do it. I hope that helps. That was a really good question. Thank you for asking. Jen says, I'd like to know more about submitting images to publications. Oh, that's good. Okay, so when I was in full wedding mode years ago, I was published in The Knot and Pittsburgh Weddings and Modern Bride. And I even had a cover on one of Pittsburgh Weddings. It was very exciting. But I never pursued any of them. They seemed to find me, which I guess was just lucky and awesome. But I'm not sure how that process goes, although I'm quite certain that they probably have it on their websites. So you would look for your local version of weddings magazines or whatever. The Knot has a version in most cities and regions. And I'm going to defer to Leanne on this one. So I'm going to ask her about this because I'm pretty sure she submits her weddings. Sometimes the client will submit the wedding. So clients do that as well because they want to be in a certain publication. So I'll have to let you know about that, Jen, or have Leanne answer that. But I'm sure there's a process for it. Amber says, I want to know how your skin tones are always amazing. Thank you. I think a couple of things. Number one is if I'm going to take a close-up portrait of someone's face where the skin is very dominant in the photo, I'm going to make sure I have good light. So that's the number one. Key is good light. Second is a good white balance in Lightroom, just making the skin look natural. And that's just a matter of practice and learning techniques. I have a couple of free videos at the Flourish.Academy on the blog where I talk about skin tones in Lightroom. And then thirdly, on tight headshots, I always use my retouch action, and I can post a link for that below. I soften the skin. I have a technique for doing that that keeps it looking smooth and natural without overdoing it, I hope, unless I'm using it on my own face, in which case I'm putting it full on because I can do that. I'm the boss of me. So Amber, I'll post links to a few things that will help you below, but I think right out of the gate, good light is key. Stacy says, is there a resource that helps people in their first year or two of business handle taxes, the legal aspect of having a business, something that helps figure out how to file the LLC, when to pay sales tax, how to file at the end of the year, if you have a business part-time, full-time job, and how to know if you are tracking your income and expenses properly? Thanks. Absolutely, Stacy, there are resources for this. You need an accountant and you need a lawyer, and you need to find one. Now, you can look online and read articles, and I think that's a good way to start. You can go to LegalZoom.com, and they have fantastic articles, for instance, on whether you should form an LLC or operate as a sole proprietor. When does it make sense to go to an S Corp or C Corp? And then how do you file those with your taxes? Because I'm not a lawyer or an accountant, I won't give advice on that, as I've been advised by my insurance agent. But you have to find an expert in this field, seek them out, and then ask them questions. Start online, get some information. You need not necessarily a local person, but a person that you can speak to. So I have a lawyer who is local to me. He's very close. I call him when I have questions. I have my insurance agent who you all have met, Jen, and I have my accountant, and I will call them. They are, my advisory board, if you will. I call them when I have questions because I want to make sure that I'm filing everything correctly. So when I started my business, I worked with a different accountant at the time. She actually came into my office, set up QuickBooks for me, and trained me on it. And yeah, I paid her for it. It was not terribly expensive, but it was so worth it. So I knew how to put in the income and expenses. I knew how to track it. I knew I was doing it appropriately. She showed me how to file monthly sales tax for the state of Pennsylvania. That's through eTides, their website. She showed me how to file quarterly income tax, and then she did our yearly taxes. You definitely need a professional to advise you on this. They are everywhere. You just need to locate them and find them. You need an accountant. The questions you're asking are really about accounting and legal, so you need an accountant and you need a lawyer. Start with LegalZoom. Get a baseline of information so you feel like you know what you're talking about, and then make some phone calls. Go to the Google and search for a QuickBooks certified accountant near you and pick up the phone. Meet them. They'll meet you for free. See if you have a good rapport relationship, and then I would hire them. It's a no-brainer. Okay, Dana says, aside from you being you, because you can't replicate that, what's something you do to create repeat clients? Good one. Unfortunately, I'm in the wedding industry, and that's usually a one-time event. So for me, it was always about getting new clients. However, I do a lot of other type of portrait photography. So to answer your question, what you're trying to do is breed customer loyalty. So, we could talk about the obvious things, and the obvious things, you're welcome, Stacy. Thank you. The obvious things to create repeat clients are, show up on time, take good photos, deliver on time, over communicate, and build a relationship. Because people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So right out of the gate, they know you because they've hired you. And then it's a matter of building rapport, getting them to like you so that they trust you. So the obvious, again, are the things I just stated. Take good photos. Okay, that's easy. Everybody's gonna do that. That's like the bar really low. You have to be doing that. But what you're asking is how to create loyalty. And the difference between customer satisfaction and loyalty is that satisfied customers will look at you as a commodity and they'll go elsewhere if they find it cheaper. But loyal customers will ignore better, faster, cheaper options. They will ignore those in favor of you because they are loyal to you. So you want to create loyalty. How do you do that? You build a relationship. And you build a relationship just by spending time with people and taking a real interest in who they are. So Dana, you know that I read a ton of books. I actually meant to bring my books out today and I forgot, but I read a ton of books, a book a week, a business book a week. I've been doing this for about 7 years, and I read a ton of books on, guess what? Building relationships. You are in the people business. You are not in the photo business. You happen to take photographs. You are in the business of building relationships and encouraging people. This is all about people, because without people, you have no business. You have to learn to love people, even people that are challenging to you. You need to find ways to love your current clients and to just go above and beyond and provide something extra. Seth Godin often says, in order to be remarkable, you need to give people something to remark about. Don't you love that? To be remarkable, you have to give people something to remark about. I've said this before, but you cannot be vanilla in a pumpkin spice world. But everybody's going to deliver photos, okay? That's the baseline. You have to go above and beyond that. So I photographed a friend recently. I say friend, they're clients of mine. I've been photographing them for years. And I always try to be encouraging, and kind and uplift people. Again, I want to leave people better than I found them. And I ran into the mother-in-law of the dad recently. And she says to me, the mother-in-law of the dad of the client, she says to me, "You have no idea how encouraging you are." She said, "I went to their house after you had done their session and they could not stop talking about you." And I said, "Oh my goodness, what do you mean? What are they talking about?" And she said, "You don't even know, do you? You don't even know how encouraging you are, how positive you are. They love being around you." And I thought, that's the key. They want to be around me, so they will hire me and they will continue to pay the prices that I put out there, not because of the photos, because I think there are photographers that are way better than me, but they want to be around me and they want to be around you. But if you don't give them something to connect with or resonate with, if you're just maybe really quiet and you don't share anything, then they have no reason to connect with you. Now, in this particular case, I think what she was referencing was he happens to be in the manufacturing business, which I find very interesting. I just do. I read a lot about it. And I also started out in the manufacturing business because I loved it. So I was asking him questions about the business. And we're talking about leadership and team management and numbers on the line, everything, really interesting stuff. And he says to me, "Did you read the book Extreme Ownership?" I said, "Oh, Extreme Ownership. Jocko Willink and Leif Babin?" "Sure did." And I listened to his podcast, and so we started talking about this book. Okay, why would a wedding photographer read a book by the most awesome Navy SEALs ever, by the way, about leadership and extreme ownership? Oh, well, because I love it. I find it interesting, but it gave me a way to connect with him. So I think it was surprising to him that I had read that book, and I had read it recently. So we were able to talk about it. We were able to connect. You cannot connect with people unless you work on yourself and you learn constantly. So for me, it's about continuous improvement, continuous, constant learning. I am always trying to learn more and absorb more. I've been mentoring for about 10 years. I started my business about 14 years ago. And as I was mentoring and teaching, had no clue what I was doing. Basically at the time, my version of mentoring was, let me show you what I've learned and what I've done. It's pretty basic, right? But about 4 years ago, I saw a need in my mentoring clients that had nothing to do with photography. So I went out and got certified as a life coach. Makes no sense. But I didn't do it for me, although I did benefit. I did it because I knew I could help others. So continuously paying attention to what other people need. Pay attention. Get your mind off of yourself. Pay attention to others and what they need. And then learning so that you can help them. So in particular, I saw this need amongst my female clients, which for my mentoring is about 98%. I have very few male clients. I saw this lack of self-esteem and the struggle for confidence that we talk about often. So I read books on this. I read books on this subject so that I can get better and improve myself, so that I can help you, so that I can leave you better than I found you. You do things like this, people notice. And when they notice, they want to be around you. And when they want to be around you, they become loyal to you. And again, people will ignore better, faster, cheaper options. Do you hear all of that? Better options, faster options, cheaper options. They will ignore it in favor of you. They put their blinders on in favor of you because they've become loyal. Loyal customers are everything to your business, because you only need a handful of them. And then it just grows from there, because in their eyes, you become remarkable and you give them something to remark about to other people. Now, if you've had clients in the past and you're not getting repeat clients, or they're not sending their friends to you, there's a problem, there's a disconnect, and it's most likely you. So there's something you need to do in order to improve. And I can almost guarantee you it has little to nothing to do with your photos. How about that? Good morning, Susie. Hey, happy birthday. Today is Susie's birthday, and guess what? Guess what Susie's gonna do today on her birthday? Oh, I don't know. She's gonna have a baby. She's gonna be induced later today. Everybody say happy birthday to Susie. That is awesome. I'm glad you could jump on here. It's nice to see you. Good luck today. I cannot wait to see this baby. Okay, Chelsea says, do you have any tips on transitioning from shoot and burn to selling digital products? I'm not ready to jump fully into in-person sales, but I feel like I want to move in that direction. I know this is a big question, so many variables, possible models, but I would love to have my clients getting beautiful products instead of having their images living on their hard drives. Agreed. Okay, there are a couple of different approaches to this. You could, I've had some mentoring clients that just go full on. So they just completely change their business model and their pricing model, and they move forward with IPS. And they do it very successfully. They just kind of jump all in. If you would like to take a softer approach over time, then what I encourage you to do is maybe just start by separating out your files from your session fee. So right now, maybe, I'm guessing, you have just a session fee that includes the files, or at least that's how I started out, really simple. So what you want to do is separate that out and then maybe have a product credit, and then the files are one of those products. So for instance, if you were starting out and you were like $150 and it included the files. Okay, Chelsea says, yep, $150 includes the files, and you kind of shoot and burn and you move on. And by the way, I have no problem with that. I did it. A lot of people do it. Who cares? But if you want to move to a model that's more service oriented and ultimately more profitable, then maybe what you could do is say, okay, the session fee is $150 and includes a $50 product credit. And here's a list of the products I offer. Now in the beginning, you may have a very short list of products that you offer. And one of those products might be the digital files. So what you have to understand is once they purchase those digital files, obviously they don't need to come back to you, that you've sort of capped your sales, it's done, you know, moving on. So ultimately I would want you to remove those digital files from that particular version of the product list. Oh, it's a bigger strategy. We'd have to come back to it later. But so you can start out, it's $150, here's a $50 product credit. Oh, and by the way, the files are $50 and this is $50. So you could pick either the files or this print or that, however you want to structure it. But then ultimately you're going to increase those prices so that maybe you're up to, maybe you say it's $325 and you have a $100 product credit. The files are $100. This is $100 or that's $150, and you just kind of take it from there until ultimately you say something like, oh, I'm $325, I have a $100 product credit, and you cannot purchase the files until you've used that product credit on products. So you see where it's going? It's kind of like stepping up there in a more incremental fashion. We can get together and meet about it, but hopefully that gives you some ideas to get started. Jessica says, how do you determine how many digital images to give a client? I do mostly child and family photography. I provide all images on a flash drive and don't put a number or limit on images. I see a lot of photographers note that they will provide a set amount of images, 20 to 30. I obviously delete the bad ones, but feel if I took them and they're good, why put a cap on it? So the question is, why put a cap on it? Because potentially you could be overwhelming your clients. And most photographers will say 20 to 30, or for like my weddings, I say 400 to 600 images, so the client knows what to expect. That's just a matter of communication. And that way, if you over deliver, and I don't have a problem over delivering by a little bit, but not by a lot, because you're overwhelming your client, and that's not a good position to put them in. They don't feel good about it, and it's not a good level of service. So for instance, I deliver 400 to 600 on the wedding day. Could I deliver 1,000 or 2,000? Yeah, you better believe it, because I take 3,000, but I wouldn't want to do that because I would overwhelm them. I had a mentoring client, this is a couple of years ago. We were going through one of our wedding galleries. There were over 1,000 images, and my eyes were about to pop out of my head. Now keep in mind, the images were beautiful. This is a really good photographer. Well, you know how you'll take a headshot of the bride, maybe a really tight headshot, it's beautiful, and you take like 10 or 15 to make sure it's in focus, right? Well, she was including, let's say she took 15 of them, she was including eight of them because they were all sharp and they all looked good. And after all, she couldn't decide which one. She couldn't decide, so she was just gonna give all 8 to her client. Okay, hold on. You just asked your client to call your images? For real. That's your job. That's what they're paying you for. I get a little bit passionate about that, as you can see. I'm not gonna ask my clients to call my photos. Less is definitely more. Now, whatever number that is, obviously is a personal preference, and there are no rules. You can do anything you want in your business. I'm trying to think of the client and the end game, and what can I do to make things easy on them? And I know that if I receive too many images from a session, I am overwhelmed. So I would rather you just show me the absolute best, perfectly retouched and beautiful, and I will love them forever. Susie says, yes, I used to give 100 proofs. Yikes. My work looks so much better since I have removed the clutter. Yeah, because what she's saying is when you give that many, you water down your work. So what you're doing is your mediocre photos are devaluing your amazing photos by giving that many, and you're potentially overwhelming the client. So that's why you put a cap on it, is for the sake of the client, not for us. And Susie says, I make more money by showing less. Better images, better sales. Very excellent points. So that's just something to consider. Again, Jessica, you're the boss of you. You can do whatever you want, and I have no problem with that. That is just my opinion on that particular issue. Mary says, have you ever had a situation where you started a session confidently, but due to negative client comments during the shoot, you lost your confidence? If so, how did you recover? Also, do you have any advice on how to handle clients who are friends that insist on seeing the back of your camera after every image to see if they like it? So in dealing with friends, oh, thanks, Jessica. I hope that you found that helpful. Dealing with friends is just a matter of setting boundaries. I'll show people the back of the camera. I don't have a problem with that, but not every 5 seconds. And if they keep asking, I'll be like, oh, enough, and I just won't do it and just move on. This is just about having boundaries and knowing yourself and being kind yet assertive. So that's that part of the question. But in terms of losing confidence, actually I did have a client once, one of the most drop dead gorgeous brides you have ever seen. I walked into the hotel room. She says to me, I hate having my photo taken. I always have. I never like a single photo of myself. I mean, she like came at me, and I said, oh, okay, awesome. Thank you for letting me know. It's not exactly what a wedding photographer wants to hear first thing in the morning, but I think to myself, no problem, I've got this. Because what I typically do is as I'm shooting throughout the day, I'll wait till I get an amazing photo and I'll show the bride, and she'll see herself completely differently. She'll see it and she'll say, wow, that's beautiful, I look really good. And then she stands up a little taller and it helps her confidence. Happens all the time. In this case, ruh-roh. I wait till I get a couple killer shots. I show her, I'm super excited, right? I've got this. Totally. I show her, she looks at the back of my camera and she goes, eh. Oh, it's a beautiful shot. Well, okay, this was a a self-esteem issue, maybe even borderline body dysmorphia. I mean, she clearly did not see herself the way I and others see her. So I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting. And I gotta tell you something, that wrecked me for a couple of seconds. But again, as I say all the time, I let things bother me for about 2.3 seconds and then I recover. You just gotta keep moving forward. It absolutely shook me. There's no question. I thought, she's not gonna like any of these photos. But I know that I can deliver amazing photographs. I have confidence in my ability and my work. So I know they're gonna be great. Whether or not she loves them, to be determined at that point. I mean, it did shake me up, but you have to recover. You have to recover and know that you're doing the best you can. And if your photos are really good and you believe in what you're doing, there will be outliers. She was an outlier for me, and ultimately she liked her photos, but she wasn't a raving fan, but that's because she doesn't like herself in photos. Very challenging, right? I mean, that's gonna happen, but don't let it wreck you. Okay, it can bother you for 2.3 seconds. Move on. Tina says, what if the bride and groom have a dear family member who happens to be a professional photographer and shows up with their gear? How do you handle that? I assume it's in your contract that you are the sole photographer. Yeah, it's definitely in my contract that definitely in my contract that I'm the sole photographer. But I'm going to defer to something I said earlier, which is you're in the people business. I have professional photographers at my weddings all the time. I have Uncle Bob's, I have Debbie Digitals who have gear that is sometimes better than mine. But here's the thing, I'm really confident in my ability and also my pricing structure. I've already been paid, so what does it hurt me? It does not hurt my sales because I've set it up so that it doesn't. I mean, that's just about being a smart business person. So instead of letting it bother me like it does many people, by the way, everything in life for me is like, what is everybody else doing? I'll do the opposite. So when everybody's zigging, I want to zag. You may have heard that before. So if all of the photographers are complaining about Uncle Bob and it's so challenging, he's up in my face, I embrace him. I bring him in and I say, hey, do you want to shoot by me? I'm shooting right here. I'll get the shot and I'll move out of the way and I'll say, here, you take it. I set it all up for you beautifully. Have at it. It does not bother me. I embrace it. Rarely to never has it ever ruffled my feathers or got in my way, and it has certainly never hurt my sales. Therefore, I approach it with grace and acceptance, and you know what? It gives people something to talk about, because usually that same person is going to every wedding with their gear, and they're coming across photographers who are not so appreciative. So what does it hurt to embrace it? I mean, I suppose if somebody was truly getting in your way, you might say something like, oh, excuse me, can I grab that shot? That's fine, there's no problem with that. My goal is to always behave as professionally as possible, but to encourage and help people, I will even grab their camera and take a photo for them on their camera. I will set up the formal photographs, and because I own time, I'm not worried about time, and I'll take mine and I'll say, well, do you want to get in? I'll take it on your camera. I have no problem with that. Just show me how to use it. And if it's Canon or Nikon, I'm pretty good, obviously. But if it's some weird thing, you know, some strange Sony model, oh yeah, take it. Okay, I'll take the photo. I mean, no problem, right? All right, that's all the questions for today. My favorite question today was from Samantha. Samantha had a really good question, so she wins a free mentoring session. Samantha, I'll contact you separately in order to set that up. I hope you guys have a great day. Continue to flourish, and I'll see you soon.